Hello everyone. Today we're going to talk about some water laws. We're going to focus on some federal laws that apply to the entire United States. When it comes to federal laws, the enforcement of these is going to be done primarily by the Environmental Protection Agency, or the EPA. As far as in Texas is concerned, any additional Texas regulations is going to be enforced and followed up on by the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, or TCEQ. So the first of our different laws is going to be the Clean Water Act. This is the major law regulating water quality in the United States by establishing regulations for what type of pollutants can be released into the water and how many of them can be released. Some are harmful in large amounts. Some are harmful in very small amounts. And so you'll see restrictions on how much of different pollutants can be released. Reports of how much pollutants that are in your drinking water can be found online, all due to the Clean Water Act. When it comes, then a couple years after the Clean Water Act, there was the Safe Drinking Water Act. This was passed in order to protect public health by regulating the nation's drinking water supply. The law's amendments required many actions to protect drinking water as well as its sources. So this went a little bit further, adding more restrictions on to bodies of water that became drinking sources. There's also then the Soil and Water Resources Conservation Act, 1977. This provided for monitoring of different water habitats and soil habitats, but more in the broader aspect of looking at wildlife, not the narrow aspect of looking at keeping water clean enough for humans. Then we have the Water Desalinization Act of 1996. This act provided for studies. It created money and grants to research on the process of desalinization and water reuse, and therefore encouraging research by providing grants or money for people to do the research. This program has some local impact for us as San Antonio residents. San Antonio does have a desalinization plant, right? We're 24 years past this. The desalinization plant here in San Antonio has been up and running for about 10 years. It's called the H2O Center. It's over on the south side of town. And what this center does is it pulls brackish water, so water that's slightly salty, not salty enough not as salty as the ocean, but too salty for us to drink, pulls that out of the Wilcox Aquifer, not the Edwards Aquifer. This is one of the additional water supplies that SAWS is developing, because as San Antonio grows, the Edwards Aquifer will not have enough water for everyone. So brackish water gets pulled out, filtered at the system. For every 10 gallons of brackish water that's removed, 9 becomes drinkable, gets sent to the water system. 1 gallon is now super salty, undrinkable, and that gets pumped back into the ground through the brackish injection well. And as a result, through the development of this center, there's about 50,000 homes in the San Antonio area that are being provided water through this process. Now, those homes don't get all that water. It all gets mixed within the San Antonio water system. So even some of the water out of your tap, a small percentage is coming from the process of desalinization. Now, this is more expensive than, say, just pumping it straight from the Edwards Aquifer, but we just don't have enough. Then our last one is the Public Health Security and Bioterrorism Preparedness and Response Act of 2002. And so this was an amendment to the Safe Drinking Water Act, and it looked at intentional attack. So the Safe Drinking Water Act and the Clean Water Act were originally designed for a more sort of accidental, the non-point source pollution that was coming from a variety of places. this one focuses on helping to prevent intentional tampering of the drinking water and to reduce the possibility of somebody being able to introduce contaminants into the water system as it's traveling between saws, plant where they're pumping it out of the aquifer, and your tap at your house.